Today we'll discuss about that your part analysis, continuation of that your network analysis. This is another type of diagram where we can accommodate or we consider that your probability or uncertainty factor during estimation of that your time. And it was first devised in 1958 by that your US Navy to optimize the time schedule of a missile project. And this method can accommodate that your uncertainty involved in the completion of time of the activities. Point is that project scheduling can be done in a similar way. We will do the analysis as a CPM, but only the differences is that we are considering here in the probability or uncertainty of that your time duration of the completion. Now, see few other factors related to that your part. It is assumed that the probability distribution is continuous unimodal with two negative non-negative abscissa intercepts. So this is basically we will consider that the nature of that your time of completion, the function it is depending, it is a continuous distribution functions as well as a unimodal, and it will intercept in a true positive. That means time of completion should be always positive. It cannot be negative. So here you can see this is a one mode. If you see this diagram here, this diagram here it is a one mode. That means unimodal distribution is there. And it is intercepting at point A and point B. And first one is that your minimum time and the maximum time, and this is the mode that's the mean time. It is that, and it has only one unimodal distribution. So this is the assumptions of that your part network part analysis. And the statistical distribution which ideally suits these assumptions is known as that beta distribution. So generally that your if we analyze the completion time of the project and uncertainty, this is generally considered as a beta distribution. It can be normal distribution. If it is a symmetric in nature, it can be a normal distribution. But in general, it is considered as a beta distribution for the analysis, because with the real-time data, it is most mainly fitted with this type of distributions function. Where this A is representing that your optimistic time, that means if every conditions are favorable, you can, with a minimum time it requires to complete a task is A, and the B represents that if everything is worse, that means nothing is favorable during the working condition, then in the worst cases, the particular task can be completed in time B. And this is the aim, that means most likely completion time. This is the mode of that. This is the mean time or mode, that means most of the time it can be the task can be completed in time duration of aim. So this is most likely time. So if we have a, that means if you see there are three times estimates. Earlier we have in CPM we have not considered, we have considered only one time estimation with 100% certainty. That means we are considering that if a particular task is taking 5 weeks of time, that means it will take 5 weeks of time, and you are 100% sure that it will take 5 weeks of time. But here for individual task, as a project manager, you have to estimate from the historical data that a particular type of task, suppose if in the mines, if you have to load a dumper or if you have to load a wagon, and if you have if you are loading, there is a manual loader or the two loaders you have deployed in the mines, and it was found that one loader or two loaders generally takes 3 hours of time or 1 hour of time to load it. So what is the worst time they will take to complete that? What is the minimum time they will take everything is, if it is favorable, how much time they are taking to complete the task, and what is the mode of that. That means most likely time. So this is from the historical data. As a project manager, you have to understand and you have to know, you have to estimate that what should be the value for individual task. And this is the 3-time estimation. So A, B, and A. And from these 3 times estimation, we can calculate this is the expected time of completion of the task. And expected time of completion of the task is that TE is that A plus 4M plus B divided by 6. And the standard deviation is B, that means pessimistic time minus that your optimistic time divided by 6. So this is how for individual task we have to calculate the expected time of completion and standard deviation of the duration of the activity. Here, this is the same thing here. It is written that optimistic time of completion, when all the conditions are favorable for early completion than the expected, this is the shortest possible time in which the activity can be completed. And the pessimistic time, when all the conditions are against the normal working condition. And in that case, you require the maximum time to complete it. And the most likely time of completion of an activity when all the conditions are normal as expected. So you can complete the task or activity in time duration M. Now for individual task, you can using the formula, you can calculate that expected time of completion and that is standard deviation of the individual task. Now we have to calculate that. If I say that in a particular, when we are considering the probability, that means you can calculate as CPM. I will show you that as similar to the CPM analysis, we will estimate the project duration. But here also, we can calculate what is the probability that the project will be completed in a particular time period T. And that can be using that your normal distributions, we can calculate this probability. So this equation I will explain later on with some example. We'll take this example. Just see, this is a simple problem. I have taken one. There are only 5 activities I have represented, A, B, C, D, E. And you can see there are 3 times estimates for each activity. The first one is that your A, optimistic time. Second one is representing that your most likely time. And the third one is that your that your pessimistic time. In worst condition it will. So every task we have a 3-time estimation that you have to do. There is a one dummy activity. So this is a 0, 0, 0. And for each activity, we can see this is optimistic time for activity A, B, C, D, E, most likely time and pessimistic time. And TE value we have calculated as we explained that in that earlier slide that we can calculate using the equations A plus 4M plus B divided by 6. So this is for a beta distribution. If you calculate the expected time, it will be found that it can be derived as A plus B plus 4M divided by 6. And sigma, this is the standard deviation. For each activity we have calculated. So from these values, we can calculate for each activity. This is the expected time of completion. This is the standard deviation. 10.5 plus minus 1.5, 10.2 plus minus 1.5. Now, once we get this expected time of completion, earlier in the CPM, we are not writing the expected, the time of completion. That means you are 100% sure that this is the time of completion. But here we generally use as a probability that expected time of completion. So for the project, using the similar type of analysis, we will do that your network analysis as CPM to estimate that what will be the expected time of completion of the projects. And accordingly, if you see the expected time of completion of A was, we found that it is 10.5, for B it is 10.2, C it is 6.3, and D it is 8.3, and E is 10.3. So dummy is 0. Now, in a similar way, we can calculate the early start and early finish and late start and late finish time for each of the activity using the similar method. So during the forward pass, we have to estimate the early start and early finish for each activity. And during the backward pass, we have to determine the late start and late finish. Now you can see this is a start activity A and B. The early start is 0. So this is 0. And this is finished. Early finish is 10.5 for this A and 10.2 for this is B. So similar way, we can calculate this for job C. For job D, the early start will be that your maximum of this early start of this B, early finish of this B, or early finish of this A, because this is also predecessor of this A is the predecessor of D, because this is connected with the dummy one. So you have to take the maximum one for this during calculation. Similarly, the early start of the C is the maximum of the early finish of C and D. So from here, we have already discussed this. We can calculate this early start and early finish. And similarly, during that, we have equated this value that late finish, early finish is equal to the late finish time. And then accordingly, from the during the backward pass, we have to calculate. We can calculate the late start and late finish for each of the activity. And we can calculate the slack value accordingly. This is the either early start minus late start or early finish minus late finish. So this is we can calculate. We will get this for B. It is 0.3 and C is that it is 2. And for rest of the task, this is value is 0. So this 0 slack values represents that your critical. These are representing the critical task, and this will be used for determining the critical path. So A, D, and E are the critical tasks, and the path connected by that your A, D, E task. That means A, this one, this is the path. This is the critical path. So here, if I represents that here the critical path here. So this is the A, D, E. This is the critical path. So this critical path, we can calculate what is the total time of completion of the project. It is 29.1. So this is the project expected time of completion of the project is 29.1 days. Now, what is the variation of the project? What is the standard deviation of the completion? As I told, this is the expected duration of the completion. And we have calculated the variance or standard deviation for individual activities. Sigma A, sigma C, sigma B, sigma D, sigma A. By using the equation B minus A divided by 6. And if you have to calculate the variance of that your project, entire project, it will be the sum of the variance of that your critical task. So the variance of the project will be equal to the sum of the variance of the critical activities. And this is A, D, and E. This is sigma A square plus sigma D square plus sigma E square. And this is, we have already derived in the last table. If you refer, it is sigma A was 1.5. So this is 1.5 square. Sigma D is 1, so this is 1 square, and sigma E is 1.5, so 1 point. So this is value is variance is equal to 5.5, and if you have to calculate the standard deviation, so standard deviation is equal to square root of the variance. So we can, because the standard deviation we cannot take a sum of that. But variance is that addition of all this. So we can calculate using that your standard square root of the variance, and it is equal to 2.345 days. So the expected time of completion of the project is 29.1 days, and the standard deviation is 2.345 days. This is the probability chances that if everything is normal, so from the normal activities, so you can calculate the most likely time or expected time of the completion of the project is 21.9 days, and the variance can be plus minus 2.345. So this variance will indicate that how much uncertainty is there in completion of the project. If your standard deviation or variance is higher, that means plus minus is higher, it can deviate from the normal completion, expected completion time. If this variance is low, you can say there is a very little chances of the deviation of the completion. So the risk will be higher as this value will be high. Risk will be low, this value will be low. So your risk of completion of the project, because it is a, if you are suppose there are some problems, if you are estimating, if you are scheduling a certain project as a project planning, if you are doing, and if you have to estimate that how much time you will take to complete it, and if you are not able to complete within the time frame, so maybe that you have to, they will charge some penalty charges will be there. So that's why it's very much important that you have to properly estimate that how much flexibility, how much risk you want to take. Based on this type of analysis and based on this value, you can estimate how much you want to take the risk. So if you don't want to take the risk, so you can take, this is 29.1 days, and in the worst cases, your project will take 21.9 plus 2.345. So this will be 31.445. So this is the, in worst cases, the project will be completed. But if you want to take a little bit risk, you can say that it can be completed in 29.1 days. That means if you are saying that you are scheduling like that, you can complete within 29.1 days. That means you are taking the risk of 50%. That means there is a chances of 50%. That means it can complete it with a plus 2.345 or minus 2. So your risk level is 50%. Now, if you want to reduce the risk, you can accordingly, you can add some of the time. So 21.1 plus 1. So 1 day keep, if you keep in an buffer time, that means in sometimes some of the task, if it is delayed, so you can within one extra day it will take. So you can take, that means you are reducing the risk. So your objective is to that you have to take the minimum risk with the optimal cost. Again, if you are saying that 21, if you are taking, this is a 21.1 plus 2.345, that means you don't want to take the risk. It may request that your cost of the budget of the project will be higher, so it may not be acceptable. So that's why you have to take a little bit risk, but how much confident you are and how much you want to take the risk, based on this type of analysis you can do this. Now come to some that your example, that determination of that probability that the project will complete within 35 days. Now we have completed, we have estimated that the expected time of completion of the project is 29.1 days, and the standard deviation is 2.345 days. Now, if you have to, if someone asks you that what is the probability that the project will be completed within 35 days? Now, if you have to, as a project manager, if you have to make a project planning, how much you want to take the risk? So what is the, based on the probability, that what is the chances that your project will be completed within 35 days? So that was the equation, how we can calculate the probability. So if this is the expected time of completion, if you have to calculate, so this equation, probability of Z T minus C, expected time of completion divided by sigma. That means here, if you have to estimate the probability of T should be less than equal to 35 days. So we can write this equation, T less than equal to 35 is equal to T minus T. Both the sides I have subtracted the expected time of completion. And this is T minus T less than equal to 35 minus T. And this is equal to probability of, we have also divided now with the sigma value. Sigma is the standard deviation here. So T minus T divided by sigma less than equal to 35 minus T by sigma. Why I am doing this, I will say you later on, because here we are going to calculate, we are assuming here this is a standard normal distributions, the completion probability we are determining based on the normal distributions. And for the integration of the normal distribution is not normally done using the simple integrations method. So we have to do some approximation. That's why we will use some statistical table, and we are doing that. And what is this here? If you see, this is a probability of T minus T by sigma. This is a value of, this is Z. That means we are assuming this is a Z, normalized Z value, Z score. We can say this is a Z score. And 35 minus T, Z will be less and equal to 35. And what is the expected time of completion? Expected time of completion for this project is 29.1 divided by the standard deviation is 2.345. So the probability of Z is less than equal to 2.515. You can directly estimate probability of T is less than T if if you are not using a normal distribution. If it is the distribution function is some exponential or there is a constant distribution function, you can directly use it. So to make it a generalized, that means normalizing this Z value, that means this is a normalized statistical table wheel. That means if we are doing this is 35 minus T by sigma, that means this will be always lie in between, that your probability will be always lie in that your 0 and 1. So here we are normalizing this with a 0 and 1. That's mean your probability will be 0 and maximum is 1. And that's why this is the normalization of that. We will see the normal distribution table with a normalized value. That means mean is 0 and that your standard standard deviation is 1. So that is what we are doing here just by simply Z score table. That means 35 minus T divided by sigma, and this T is representing that your normal expected completion time, and sigma is the standard deviation time, and this value T is that at for what time you want to determine the probability. We are determining here that what is the probability that the project will be completed within 35 days. So that's why 35 minus normal completion expected completion time divided by the standard deviation. So this is the value probability is Z is less than equal to 2.515. And this value we will derive, we can get it from that your 0. And it is 0.994, and this we can derive from the normal statistical table. I'll show you that normal distribution table, and the value is corresponding to that your 2.5 in column and 0.01 in row, that I'll show. And what this is indicating, this is the normal distributions functions. That means it is symmetrical in both the sides. And here this is the expected completion time, it is a 29.1. And if you move away from here, that means this maximum deviation will be that your 2.345. Now how much you want to take the risk? You want to take this risk up to this, you want to take the risk up to this, you want to take the risk up to this. So how much you want to take the risk, that probability of time of completion is less than equal to value K. That means up to 35 here, if we want to take it. So if we want to take that your up to 35, that means this side is representing the lower time and this side is representing the higher time. It can be completed 29 point, this is the expected completion time. It can be 29.1 plus 2.345. This side is plus 2.345 and this side left hand side is minus 2.345. Now if I give that higher time from this mean value, that means we are reducing the risk. That means this is a in the right hand side, that means the risk value probability will be going to increase. Now what is the probability for that? We can calculate that Z is value less than 2.515, and that is the this one is the normalized value. Here we are showing this is a actual value 29.1 and this is the 35. But if you, this table I will show you that will be here, the value will be here 0. That means here this is the mean value will be 0. It will be assumed on the normalized value, and that's why, because different equations or different time will have a different, it requires a different value, and that's why if we have a normalized value with a 0 and 1, we can calculate for any type of value, for 35, for 36, for 35, and for any type of expected mean value, we can use the same table. Otherwise, what we have to do, for every different value, we require a different table. So that is what not possible, and that's why the normalized distribution table is required. Here you can see this is a -1 Z, and because we have a plus value, so we will go to the +1. So it was 2.51, something 2.51. So this is the Z score you can see. This is the Z score, and we require to calculate for the 2.51. So here you can see this is a 2.5 value, 2.5, and here you can, this is a 2.50. If it is a 2.50, so this value you can take it. If it is a 2.51, so you have to take it is a 2.51, that means 0.99396. So this will be the probability, and this value are calculated based on the normalized uh, mean and standard deviation. That means mean is 0 and the standard deviation is 1, and that's what we did it there. Normalize first, that Z score we have determined and we have calculated. We can directly determine the probability value, because the integration of the normal distributions function is not simply can be done, and that's why this table will help you to directly calculate the integrated value, how much you area under that curve we can get it. And this is the nothing but the area under this curve, what we can get here. That means this shaded portion's area you have to calculate it. Now this is what for that, as I told that if you recall that your first lecture, my first or second lecture, I told you that there is one is that your deterministic thing and another one is the probabilistic thing. And if you see the course content in the first module also, there was some probability functions are there. So I have not discussed. So here, as it is required directly, I will explain this with some examples. So what this probability density distributions functions. If I'm saying the normal distributions function, so normal distributions function, if you see, so before discussing that normal distributions function, we first discuss about that what is the probability distributions function. This can be a discrete random variable or continuous random variable. So here our assumptions is that we are considering a beta distributions, and that was also a continuous random variables we have assumed. So if you have to calculate the probability for that, we can use here, this is a for that your discrete function. This is the probability of x is less than equal to x. Simply suppose if you throw a dice, there are 6 values. The probability for getting a particular value we can calculate. What is the distributions functions for getting a number? It is a discrete number. That means discrete functions. That means either we can get 1, 2, 3, 4, no in between value. So this is not a continuous function. And for this type of cases, if you have to determine the probability, we generally, I think you have studied in class 12 how to determine the probability. So this is the functions that you can determine the probability for a discrete function. But if it is a continuous random variable or continuous function, then we can calculate the probability of x is less than equal to k is equal to integration of 0 to k fx dx. Fx is a function, probability density function with random variables x. So it can be any continuous function. So for continuous function and discrete function, we can the formula is same, but there is a no continuous, the probability in a sum of all these probability we are generally calculated, and but here we can calculate it is the integration because this is a continuous functions. And here you can see this is the probability is representing, suppose x is less than equal to k, so this shaded portion is representing the probability. So this area you have to calculate what is the area under this curve using that. So this is the cumulative probability distributions function. We generally get this. This is the fx value, what we can get, x is less than equal to k. So this is the value represents the probability. So here, this is a normal probability distributions function. This is simply definitions of the probability distributions functions. And we can get another example. Suppose if you have to determine the probability of a is less than equal to x less than equal to b is equal to integration of a to b. Earlier it was x probability of x is less than equal to k, so it was 0 to k, but here it is a is less than equal to x, and in between this, what is the probability that x lies in between a and b? And if you see, this is the area under the curve. That means it is into a point is here and b point is here. So this is the area under the curve, this shaded portion, it is representing the probability of x lies in between a and b, and this is the probability for this. That means this minus this will be that you're representing the probability. So using the cumulative distributions functions. And here, and if you see, this is the probability for A to B, it is fx is equal to 1. If it is area that it is under this conditions, that all the value, if it is lying only in this range, then we will get the value of 1. And if you see with some example, we can see one problem. So this is from m to m, that means it will indicate integration fx dx, m to m it is equal to 0. And the reverse of the probability we can get again if you have a cumulative distributions functions fx, we can get the probability density functions by differentiating that d by dx of fx is equal to fx, we can get it. Now come to that, a simple example. If we have a uniform distributions, there are so many distributions later on when we will discuss the reliability analysis, we will discuss, because there are so many complex density functions can be used for that your reliability analysis. Here we will just simply introduce one simple functions here, the distributions, also known as the rectangular distributions, is a distribution that has a constant probability. That means every time the probability is constant. Here we can see this is a uniform distributions, and it has a constant. Earlier the function was normal distributions functions we have drawn like this, and here, but this is, you can see the probability is constant here in the range of A and B. So we are dealing with only in the range of A and B. We don't know about this side or this side. If your X value lies in between less than A or greater than B, we don't know. We know here the probability in the range of A to B, it is a constant value. And this is a uniform, this type of density function is called that your uniform density function, uniform distributions. And for this fx, if you see this one, if you see this function fx, this is equal to 0. That means here for a cumulative distribution, because we have to determine that your cumulative distributions function, here this is equal to 0 for x is less than A. And if it is x is greater than B, the probability is also 0. And in between that, if you have to determine in the range of A and B, your probability density is equal to 1 by B minus A. So this is what we can get it. Probability of A is less than X, A less than equal to X is equal to capital Fx is A to X Fx dx. And we can accordingly get the function, this cumulative distributions function Fx. For X is less than A, it is 0. Here it is 0. If we move in the upward side, this is X, whatever be the value, if you put for what probability you want to determine, for X is equal to, suppose for X is equal to somehow here in between that C, you can put the value of C minus A divided B minus A will be the probability. And if it is more than B, it is 1. So this is the probability how we can determine. Now with this similar formula, this is similar distributions functions. If we see this example, just to check. It is given that the daily demand of explosive in an open cast mine is uniformly distributed between 2500 and 3250 kg. The explosive tank stores with a capacity of 300 kg is refilled daily. What is the probability that the tank will be empty just before fill? So here, if you compare with this uniform distribution, it is given that it is following a uniform distributions. So that information we require whenever you have to do the probability distributions, that either from the data you can determine what type of distributions functions it is followed, or if I'm giving you to determine the probability, I have to give it you that what type of distributions function it is. Now it is given that the distributions function here, it is a uniform distributions functions. Uniform distribution, that means the probability is constant in between this range 2500 and 3250. So your demand is in a particular day always lie in the range of 2500 and 3250. Now, in a particular day, suppose may not be that your explosive consumption may be 3,000, it may be 3,100, it may be 2,800. Now, what is the probability you have to determine that in a particular day, what is the tank will be empty? That means explosive tank store with a capacity of 300 kg. Suppose tank is filled with a 300 kg, that will be consumed in a particular day. Once it is consumed, the fully consumed, then only during the filling you have to, it will be empty. Now, suppose for a uniform distributions of demand in the range of 2500 and 3250. I think it is somewhere it is mistakenly written here. It is 2500. So it is it can be any value you can calculate here. So this is 2550 and B is 3250. It can be represented Fx is equal to 1 by B minus A. You just recall your uniform distributions function. It can be represented with Fx is equal to 1 by B minus A for a uniform distributions function. And this is B is given 3250 and 2550. It is 1 by 700. Now it is given you what probability you have to determine. You have to determine that in a particular day, the demand is more than 3000 kg. That means if 3000 kg is exhausted, then only your tank will be emptied. Now you have to determine the probability of this K is less than equal to X is less than equal to B. What is this value K? K is nothing but that your minimum one value. It is calculated. This is uh, 0.355. Sorry, this is K from here we have to determine, that means it should be demand will be more than 3000 in a particular day. Demand is more than 3000, then only your tank will be emptied. So K to B we have to determine, and K to B, that means K is representing that more than 3000 if it is exhausted, and less than 32500, because your capacity is only demand is only lies in the maximum demand is 3250. So more than 3000 it will be exhausted, and it is the function is 1 by B minus A dx. So this is 1 by 700. This is a constant function. As I told that this is a constant probability it will give. So this is a constant function 1 by 700 dx, and this is 3000 to 3250, and this is equal to, if we determine, it will be the probability is 0.355. That means what? If I say that the demand in a particular mines, the explosive demand is 2550 to 3250. And we are determining in a particular day, the demand will be more than 3000. The demand is more than 3000. So that is what we have determined. That means X is greater than 3000 and less than 3250. And we have already seen that how the different value in that your probability we can calculate it. I think you have understood that. And if we see just again, just complex function, why for the normal distribution we are following that your statistical table rather integrating like that way. So earlier you have seen that if we have a exponential function, Fx is a exponential function, we can easily integrate it. If it is a uniform distributions functions, we can easily integrate it. But some of the complex functions not easily cannot be integrated in a normal process. We have to do some approximation, and then we have to calculate. So some method of expansion method and method we generally use to determine that. And if you see the equations of the normal distributions probability density function of for the normal distribution, it is equal to Fx is equal to 1 by root over of 2 pi sigma e to the power minus x minus mu by 2 sigma square, x minus mu to the power. So mu is the mean value and sigma is the standard deviation and mu is the mean value. We can, as I told that whatever be the sigma and mu, for that case, for that problem we got it, we can directly make the integration using this function. But since we are not able to make the integration of this function easily, that's why we have normalized the value first, and then we have used the statistical table to determine the area or that your integrated value. And here it is representing mean of the distribution and variance of the distributions. Now, just for example, if we have to see, this is how we can do the your normal. So an arbitrary normal distribution can be converted to a standardized normal density by changing the variable to z is equal to x minus mu divided by sigma. So dz is equal to dx by sigma, and this is fz is equal to 1 by root over 2 pi e to the power minus z by 2 square. So that x minus mu divided by sigma we have equated with the equal to z, and dz is equal to dx by sigma, and accordingly if we put the value we will get this is 1 by root over 2 pi to the power minus z square by 2 dz, and that is a normalized value. And for mean is 0, you can see the mean value here is 0, we can get it, and accordingly the probability is 1 here, so we can get the normalize. So whatever be the value of mean and standard deviation will be there, we can use the same normal distributions table. So for different types of value, we don't require different statistical tables. And that's why the objective is to make a normalized, standardized normal density functions. And some more thing here, as I told that how to determine the probability. So just for example, some of the cases here you can see, we have determined the value, this one earlier in the case of explosive demand, that a particular case how the explosive is lies in between A and B. Here also we can determine that what is the probability that the explosive demand will be lies in between A and B, or greater than A, or less than B. So these can be determined using the any type of distributions function, and these are the normal distribution table. If we plot it, we can find that this is, suppose x is less than A, this much of shaded portions we have to the area, this much of area we have to determine. Now, if it is a normal distribution table, so here you cannot easily calculate it. So you have to refer the table. Now, some of the values, suppose if we have to calculate the this much, your x is less than minus a. That means this is less than mean. This is the left hand side of the mean. This is the mean value, and this is minus a, that means left hand side. Suppose this is the 35, we have 29, we have mean we calculated. And if we say that what is the probability that your project will be completed within 26 weeks or 26 days. So that means less than 29. So instead of calculating, we are getting x minus mu y. That means we are normalizing it. It is x minus mu divided by that your sigma. So here the value is x is suppose mu we have derived 29.1, and here if I say this is a what is the probability that 28 days it will be completed. So this will be 28 minus 29.1 29.1 divided by, I think it was 3 point something, 3.4. So it will be coming as a negative value. And that's why this negative one, that means if you are getting at the right hand side value, your risk level will be much lower. If it is the left hand side, that means negative. That means whatever be the expected value less than the expected value, if you have to determine the probability, you will get a very less probability. And the table is always designed in a different table. If you refer, you can find in the statistical table, at the top of that your table, you will find this type of figure. And this type of figure is representing that what type of distributions value they are showing. Some of the table, they are referring this only one side of the distributions, and you have to make it a double. Some of the figure representing in this from the 0 value to this side. So accordingly, some of the value given both all the side from the 0 to this. So accordingly, you have to total area you have to calculate. So these are the things you have to keep in mind when what probability you are going to determine. Suppose if you have to determine probability of Z is less than minus A, and this is equal to this value, and this value is equal to, we can get this probability of Z less than minus A is equal to 1 minus probability of Z is greater than A, because this is symmetry. So this, if you calculate this area, this will be the same of this area. So this we can calculate from the same table. So that's why, because the table may not be uniform in every books, you cannot find a similar type of table. Somewhere it is represented only in the positive side. So you have to accordingly convert it. If it is only positive side, and if you have to determine that what is the probability that Z is less than minus A, you can convert Z is less than minus A is equal to 1 minus probability of Z is greater than A. Z is, here it is representing Z is greater than Z is greater than A. So we can, so probability of Z is less than A is equal to 1 minus probability of Z is greater than A. Similarly, probability of A is less than Z is less than B is equal to probability of Z is less than B minus probability. That means this is total probability they are first determining, then they are subtracting probability of Z is less than A. That means they are subtracting this one up to this A. So we can get this probability of A is less than Z is less than B. It is equal to pi B minus pi. That means total this area and then minus of this area. So this way we have to calculate the probability, and you have to, whenever you have to refer statistical table, you just see in the top of the figure that what type of value they are reporting, and accordingly you decide what value, which area you have to determine. So this is, I think, for the part diagram, you can do the analysis and probability value. We can calculate the expected time of completion, and on the risk level, if you want to schedule, if you want to plan a particular project's duration based on the risk level, how much you want to take the risk. Suppose if I here, if probability is 0.994 here. So in the 0.994, that means the risk level is very less. The 100, more or less, it is 100% chances, because the mean value is 29.1, and we are determining the probability for 35 days. That means 6 days we have kept extra as a buffer time, and this is, that's why the risk level is very less, and we got the probability of 0. Almost 1, and there is no risk level. So accordingly, how much you want to take the risk, but at the same time, if you are planning for the 35 weeks with a zero risk, your project may not be accepted, because many times you are not allowed to extend your project beyond that a particular time. It is a specified time. And again, if you are reducing to maximum duration, again, it is also not allowed. In that case also, that your cost level go high. So you have to optimally choose that what should be the optimal time of a projects. You have to design with a minimum risk and that optimum cost. So this is all about how to do that, your part analysis. Now it is open for questions. If you have any questions, you can ask for that.